hello to everyone who's joining us live. So great to have you here.
So good. We sort of just said before we jumped on that a week felt like it went so quick, and now 2 weeks feel like it's too long. So I don't know. We've got to
Yeah,
sort of balance, but it's really always a pleasure to be online and to really sort of rumble with you, Sean. I love that, and yeah, we really wanted today to start. So we obviously want to every topic or every session, every episode, I should say, we want to really dive into some topics and deep into some topics. And so I think what we want to do starting today is really a series of topics that we want to deep dive into. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm struggling over my words so much today, but it's really about, the modern day mystic. So if we can just ground ourselves in what is this podcast all about, it's really the conversation about us as spiritual, infinite beings in a human body, stepping out, stepping forward, and really embracing the fact that we are superhumans. I don't know, that's probably not the right term to use. Correct me on that, Sean, but it is really about, you have infinite potential to do anything, to be anything, to give anything, to have anything that you desire and that you would love. And so we really want to make sure that conversation is out in the open, and that we all start having the conversation more openly. Because I think for
beautiful.
too long, us, mystics who have sort of grown up feeling like a little bit like, we don't fit in anywhere, sort of hiding in the corner, hiding behind, things and people and accolades, to actually allow our true selves to come forwards. And so I think for us, really, today, we would love to talk about, what does visibility mean? So we are stepping forwards. We're making a stance for, especially women, stepping forward, stepping out, being more visible, standing in our power and loving our power. I mean, Sean, this is your, catchphrase is love your fucking power. And I so love that, because I think this is really the permission that we have to give ourselves first and foremost. Okay, so today's topic, we're going to dive deep into visibility. And really, what does visibility mean to us? What does visibility mean to you? And contrasting it with being visible versus being invisible versus hiding. And really, just really being honest with yourself today around, where are you and where potentially can you be more visible? So, Sean, I'm going to dive in by let's just define what we mean by visibility. What's the kind of the essence of being visible?
So beautiful, and I absolutely adore this topic, especially in the context of getting visible with spirituality and spiritually orientated people, and permissioning ourselves to really step up and out into the spotlight of our lives. And so for me personally, when I think about visibility, I feel like, how do I strip away everything that's not me, so that I can just express and have a fully self-expressed version of myself out in the world? And so that can be vary depending on the different contexts. But essentially for me, it's like, how can I allow myself and permission myself, and remember, more importantly, above all else, is to really remember myself as the most powerful, most potent, most self-expressed version of myself, free of the limitations that I've created, because I've taken them on around society. And then I exist in the world as the truth of who I am. And for me, that is visibility. So it's like, this is me, have a look at me. This is how I express myself. And whether that be in how I speak, whether it be on the topics that I love to speak about, my opinions, clothing, what I like and what I don't like. So essentially, you can pretty much roll it down into this phrase: it's my fuck yeses and my fuck nos. What is truly me and what is truly not me, and dropping what is truly not me, to allow and permit, in the most loving and beautiful way, the true essential self of who I am. So
Absolutely.
that's my take
And
on
so,
it.
Amazing. And so I'll give my color on it, and I think that's so beautiful, and it's indicative of, you've walked such a beautiful journey, and you've been at this for so long. And I'm sort of like, obviously this is beautiful and amazing. I think there's also people out there that's thinking, how the hell do I do that? And I think so for me, where I usually start the conversation is that actually visibility is about seeing yourself first and foremost. So I think if we just really take a moment to say, okay, well, this is about what the eyes can see. And if we just make it really practical for a moment, how many of us actually love looking at ourselves in the mirror? How many of us actually love seeing ourselves in the mirror? And I'm just asking that question because I think I want to ground this in a practical thing of being visible is actually starts with you seeing you, me seeing me first and foremost. And I think that for me is really where the whole journey starts and the game starts, the kind of the inside and out. So I would love to get your perspective on it, because we've talked a lot about what the eyes can see and the colored glasses, and sort of talking about, what is the color of the glasses that you are wearing, but really about what are you seeing and what is visible to you about you. Because obviously that's kind of where we then, as you say, we get rid of the things that are not us. You remember who you are, you recognize the things that are not you, and you can shed those, you can get rid of those, so that you can authentically express, then visibly express and come out to the outside world who you are, and that expression, authentic expression of who you are. And so for me, I just wanted to sort of make that distinction. And I think the reality, someone said this to me the other day, like, she speaks to so many women who hates looking at themselves in the mirror, because obviously they don't love what they see. And I'm like, but that is where visibility starts. That's you seeing you, you loving you, you appreciating you. And so it's that compassion with yourself, and then that courage to speak up and to speak to the outside world. So that's for
Yeah.
me a beautiful kind of frame that I've recently spoken to someone about, and they've really presenced that with me.
So great. And I'm just going to take it into a bit of a deeper perspective, or deepen into that perspective, because it's such a relevant perspective. And I want to just really build on what you're articulating here. And, most of you know that very recently, not recently, but certainly probably for the last 6 months, I've been really delving into power, abundance, expression of power, deriving abundance. I'm talking about monetary abundance specifically. So what does that mean in the context of what Marilis is saying? Money and abundance is a spiritual experience. Now, many of us will effectively look at money as something scary, something fearful, and give our power away, not necessarily to money, but to the experience of money. In other words, receiving money from others, because typically money is going to come from others, or others will be a channel through which we will receive money. But when you really take it down to the essence of what is actually the journey of abundance and money, it really comes down to, I have God-given talents. I have certain things that I am born into this world to bring out into the world. And if I truly believe that God is a loving, divine being who loves me unconditionally, and I think this is where a lot of people trip up, is that there's a lot of mistrust in that narrative. They say, or they will say, oh, God is unconditional, God loves me. Well, if God truly loves you and you're already one with God, and we love these kind of concepts and principles around oneness, and the divine is in me, and I'm like, my soul is an offshoot of the divine, etc., then why, it doesn't make sense to me why I would be excluded from God-given talents. And if my God-given talents are natural to me, and that's my natural essence, then surely that natural essence, when expressed, would yield abundance, would yield a return of some kind of financial exchange, whatever that could be. And so we are great invalidators. We are great underminers. And Marlies, what you're saying there, it's not even about self-compassion. It truly is, can you fall in love and can you get intimate with your God-given, your essential self, your true self? Grow and develop that, your very, very unique elements. And in my programs, I call it your unique profitability space, the things that are truly unique to you that bring profitability in all aspects in terms of joy of life, monetary, etc. And what we do is we're so busy jumping ship, jumping our own ship. And whether that's you looking in the mirror and jumping ship on yourself, like in a very practical way, because when you look in the mirror, you don't like what you see. So you jump ship and you undermine yourself, you invalidate yourself, you self-loathe on yourself, and you will look at others and say, oh, they're beautiful, I'm not beautiful, etc. So jumping ship can be in the way that you see yourself in the mirror. As a practical jumping ship can be like, I don't value my skill set and think I can derive value off it, so I jump ship and chase something else that's not me, that is also not truly seeing me. And therefore that experience of being abundant within myself, and when I'm in love with myself, in love with my talents, and in love with the expression, and I mean both the beingness, in love with myself, and the experience of love, and then the expression in the context of like its physical manifestation, in the context of skills and how I contribute into the world. And when I'm in love with that, all of that, and being visible in the physical form with that, that will yield an exchange of abundance. And when things are born of and in love, they yield of and in love. It's your echo chamber. It will come back to you and reflect that. But when we are birthing things out of non-love, so if I'm not in love with myself, if I'm not in love with the skill set that I have, and I'm so busy chasing someone else, I am birthing that seed energy into my creations. We are creators, whether you like it or not. You are a creator. And when you are birthing things from non-love, you receive things from non-love. And your receivership, you need look no further to see how you love yourself. Practical example, and then I'll hand over to you, Marlies, is if you're in a relationship where it is disrespectful and you're not receiving respect, or the person is a bully, or the person is in any kind of relationship, this could be a boss, could be a personal relationship, friendship, etc., and you are allowing that, it's not the other person who is the bully or the person that is disrespecting you. That is your indicator that you are the one disrespecting you. You are actually your own self-bully, and when that stops, the world around you will change as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I love all of that, and you have such a beautiful way of explaining and landing these things. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. I just wanna presence with the audience when we talk about God. You know, we don't necessarily attach it to a specific religion, right? So we are spiritual, and we sort of like, so whatever your term is, the divine, the creator. So please don't think we are, speaking to you in the context of a specific religion. But what you've just really presenced, and I love that, is the fact that love really is the universal language, the thing that connects us all, unifies us all. And it's easy to say this, but it starts with that self-love, that love of your own God-given talents, and then the expression of that. So I actually saw a friend today, and we talked about a little bit about her. She's a young mother with 2 young kids, and she was just sort of saying they've just been on holiday, they're leaving to go back to the UK tomorrow, and she was kind of like sharing with me a little bit about sort of just not feeling comfortable when pictures are being taken of her, and so really that narrative, that whole narrative of not good enoughness, and not thin enough, not pretty enough, and so I heard that narrative, and then fortunately she self-corrected, and she's like, we are creating such pressure. We've got to really live it and be in the moment. But she said something that was really cool, and she said something about obviously being spiritual, but also being a geek, a science geek. And I thought, what we are actually, as mystics, modern day mystics, we are spiritual science geeks. So the reason I'm saying that is because I really want us to just, we talk about these concepts and we know that it's based in science, but people who can listen to us, just sort of hear us kind of sounding really woo-woo, airy-fairy. And so I just would love to take a moment, and this is kind of your superpower, is just to ground us back in the science of all of this, please, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. Well, what we're essentially talking about is energy and frequency. Everything is made up of energy and frequency. And same thing of energy, and energy holds a particular frequency. So whether you have a light is just holding a particular frequency that is that allows it to become and to be experienced as light. And so at the lowest material form, and that is our physical form, the desk I'm sitting at, the phone and the computer, all of those material elements. And so when we talk, and I love this conversation, because when we talk about material and people say, I'm not materialistic, well, you yourself are material. And so, you may as well start loving yourself and loving the material world, because the material world is made up of energy. But in the material world, this body that I am is simply made up of a construct, and very, 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 like we go in the highest level, atoms. Atoms at their most essential self, atoms are 99.9% made up of space. That means that even though I experience myself in this dimensional world as a 3D as a physical form, it's not called about 3D, but as a physical form, and I'm made up, and my atoms that comprise me, very basic, is 99.9% space. I am made up of energy, and therefore the space around me, that means that everything that we see, we actually only seeing roughly, give or take, like 1%. The rest is space of what we actually see. So the material world is just very slowed down energy in a frequency, and the frequency has come into form. And so we are able to experience that as a particular form. Everything that we see was created from man. If you think about it, this computer that I'm looking at, my Apple computer, who created it? Man created it. Who created these iPods? Man created it. So man, when you think about it, who created these glasses? Who created the Post-it notes? Where did it come from? Man, woman is the creator. And so we receive ideas, we are born as creative beings, and then we come up with ideas, and then it comes into fruition. So all form and experience comes into fruition from somewhere. Like, we didn't just get born and land on earth and we have a set of iPods. No, like, we were born and then we started to create. So the concept of we are creators, it just is so. Because everything we experience is created from somewhere. So at its lowest frequency, what we would call typically your 3-dimensional, is this physical material world. When you go up, then if you really then think about the idea of the science of it, at your highest frequency, people will call it the 1 point, where it's the all in all, and you're completely in that place of stillness, whether that's a meditation or contemplation, and you have nothing going on, like literally you become nothing, just pure consciousness. This is the point at which you're at, let's say, a very high frequency of the love, pure love frequency of the divine. Now, that is where we create from. And so you can measure everything on frequency. Everything can be measured in terms of frequency. And so the more that we release our limitations, what we could call our shadows, and we elevate our frequency and open our hearts to love and love more of ourselves as these divine beings, the higher our frequency goes. So there's always a point at which, if you think about in the context, let's say, a very basic creatorship and the science of it, we want to get out of the identity we currently are through meditation or contemplation practice is the most effective way to create something new. And then from that place, once we think it and once we feel it, which thought is a frequency, feeling is a frequency, when these two are merged, particularly, there's a great deal of power. So where we really move into the ability to create effectively is when you are combining a thought with a very high frequency energy, as high as you can get, joy, love, etc. And then once you think it and you say it, it is created, and then you continue to think and create it. The fractal already exists, and then a fractal is a geometric pattern, and then it starts to come into form as long as we are in the physical body now, acting, thinking, and feeling as if what we're wanting is present. And so it's got to come from the immaterial, invisible, and make its way through the different dimensions of frequency, from very high frequency of oneness where it's created. Think about when you were created as a child, and the idea of an orgasm, that is the highest frequency of energy that has the power to create a baby that then starts to come into form and through what we call 4D, which is plasma. So it just comes through the different layers of frequency until we can see its material nature. So I don't know if that is very high, very, very high level without going into too much.
Super helpful.
Physics.
And I think it's, it's beautiful. And I think it's the recognition that sort of, if you can buy into the idea that everything is energy and that everything has a frequency, and, so we've got the limiting emotions like shame and blame and apathy, is really going to kind of vibe at a very, very low frequency. And I think that's really why we are so passionate about really getting you more consistently into a love, into a joy frequency, because that is the frequency where you can start attracting, where you can start manifesting. I mean, even anger, healthy anger as a frequency is higher than apathy and blame and shame. So I think even healthy anger, is a good emotion to lean into when you're actually navigating through and healing through, some of the past traumas and the core wounds and all that sort of stuff that we all have to navigate. I think the really beautiful thing, Sean, that you've said, for me, and I really want to pick up on that, because I've been listening to a book by Elizabeth Gilbert, and it's called Big Magic. I don't know if you've read that book, Big Magic, but
I love that book. Yeah.
Create
Love it.
Living Beyond Fear. And I really want to passionately tell each and every one of you that you are creative, because we don't think about ourselves as creative, but you've said it over and over and over in this conversation. We are born as creators. We are born creative, and it's part and parcel of who we are. It's innate to us. It's our God-given talents, as you say. But every single one of us are creative. And I think so, if you have a narrative in your mind because you're not a musician or an artist or a interior designer or an architect, that you're not creative, please read the book, Big Magic, or listen to the book, because she starts the book with what is creativity. And she really will bust all the myths around that, and really embracing the idea of, or encouraging you and us to embrace the idea of, creativity, which really is leaning into your passions and your talents more. And I think that is really what's so powerful about it. And so, again, something else I read this week and just prompted that thought, which was around on LinkedIn. Someone posted about, at 19, having a conversation with his dad, and his dad said, "You have no choice. You've got to go study BCom accounting at uni." And so he did it. He became a CA and then followed a completely different route. Moral of the story, he is so happy that he did the CA because it opened so many doors for him. But it's also allowed him now to do different things and, pursue passions. And I can so relate with that, because I'm also one of those people who studied necessarily something. I think you, Sean, as well, you did something very, very different with your life early on, and now completely shifted into something new. But what someone said, someone posted a comment which was that passion does not pay the bills. And it really struck with me. And I want us just to spend a little bit of time on that, because it really made me think. Because there are genuinely so many people out there that really believe that you've got to be in a 9-to-5 job that you absolutely hate, that is absolutely soul destroying, just because if you dare follow the passion, the God-given talents, leaning in, stepping into that, and being the creative being that you are, or the creator that you are, it's not going to pay the bills. And I think that's really, your zone of genius to talk to us about that. So I'd love your perspective on that.
How long do we have?
maybe this is setting the tone, because I've obviously only got a few minutes left, but maybe this is something we can, continue kind of the conversation on. And I know we've picked up on it before, have, but I think, a reminder.
We can spend So, as I just sort of explained when I was building on the topic you were talking about, when I'm given something to express, and that will also be in the big, I love that book, and it was very influential. And I think in the book, Elizabeth Gilbert, which stayed with me forever, was she speaks about an idea, when an idea is given to you. So if any of you have ever received an idea, you are a creator, you are a receiver of creator, whether you acted on the idea or not. So something dropped into your head out the blue, you had this idea, you acted on it or you didn't. Well, that is the divine working. That is your higher self saying, hey, go forth, use this idea. This is going to generate. Why would the divine, if the divine is always acting in our highest good, why would the divine give us an idea if it was not there to be brought into fruition? Now, you can obviously use various things like discernment and all sorts of stuff to create from that place and put the meat on the bones around the idea. But I remember in her book, she was saying, like, if you don't act on the idea, when the idea keeps knocking on the door and the divine has given you this idea and you don't act on it, the divine just simply says, okay, let me give it to someone else who is going to act on it. So if you've ever had the experience of like having received an idea and you were like, oh, this is such a good idea, but you didn't act on it. And then you see someone else down the line acting on it and you see this thing coming into fruition, you're going, oh, but I had that idea. That's how the divine works. Would you be a channel for the divine? That is, you're tuning into and bring something into fruition, or does the divine need to pass it on? Because when it needs to come into fruition, the divine is going to find a channel for it to come into fruition. So just wanted to add that piece on.
Thank you.
But just some of the fundamentals of what you're discussing here, what you're sort of inviting into the space is you think about it in the context of this, whatever you are saying, and I want to take it even a step further back, and we can sort of just have a small bite at the cherry, and we can expand on this in the next conversation. Myself, Sian Caudry, I come with a whole lot of filters and a whole lot of belief systems that I picked up and consumed, and we've spoken about this before, that I took on through my experience growing up. Marelise, you also have a set of beliefs. You have all sorts of experiences in your history. I think you're 47 or 48 now, if I remember correctly. So you've got at least roughly, let's say, from the age of 6 or 7, where you can really start to remember those, and your frontal lobe is developing. From there on in, you started consuming and role modeling and watching, and you started to, just like, we as humans like to eat, we started to eat, people will say we started to drink the Kool-Aid. And so our caregivers, our significant others, all of those beautiful people around us started to give us Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid being started to give us their belief system, their value system, which they came into the world with through their experiences. They formulated a set of belief systems, and they said, here's some Kool-Aid, drink it, because this is what I know, right? And so we start to drink the Kool-Aid, and thank you very much, and thank you very much for all those beautiful things that were shared with us. But the outcome of that is that now I sit with a set of beliefs before the age of 7, 8, or 9, for example, and that's still in my formative years. I was in very, very early years, I was in my own world of feeling. because my frontal lobe, my executive functioning, the neural networks of the ability to actually think for myself were only really starting to form at the age of 6 or 7. So before that, I'm all feeling. And in my most feeling self, I was this incredible creator. Go back to that time in your life. I was busy making things. I was busy collecting Coke bottles. I was busy selling this. I was playing marbles. I was playing like cards. I was on the sports field. I was doing all these magnificent things out of feeling of passion. Not because someone told me to, just because these things brought me delight and they were from a place of passion. And then beautiful mom, dad, and my significant others and school started to feed me the Kool-Aid that was bought in through someone else's filters and said, here, take this and wear it. I didn't have the wherewithal to say yes or no. And so I started to take on these things and believe certain things about me, about the world. And now when we talk about you can't make money out of passion, when I hear that statement, I'm just remembering that that is someone else's life experience and filters and beliefs that they consumed. That's their Kool-Aid. Is that Kool-Aid that works for me? I prefer not to. No, thank you. I don't want that Kool-Aid. I believe that when I'm in my most passionate, loving self and validating self and the ideas I'm given and the God-given talents, and then I can apply my mind and let my mind be in service to the ideas and creativity within me to bring this into fruition with passion and love. And when I birth from that place, I'm going to be as happy as anything, and that is going to yield some kind of financial exchange. But yes, I have to apply my mind in a human third dimensional material world. But quite frankly, in the coaching world and consulting world and whatever, and even in the organizational world, just to round this conversation off, by what I mean is there's just benchmarks everywhere. So a certain role of a CA has a benchmark and a pay scale. And this pay scale was introduced by someone somewhere that became the norm for the world. And then, our beautiful human capital people will benchmark. In the coaching world, there's benchmarks of how much a coach, a life coach, a business coach, whatever. And so if you're in this range, that's okay. Like who said? Like the divine doesn't work on benchmarks. I get to assign the value that I want to assign. And there are people out there who will pay price points at whatever I assign my value to. Let's look at art, for example. You can buy a piece of art for $1,000, or you can buy a piece of art for $1 million. The piece of art sitting in an art gallery for millions of dollars, someone buys it. Someone is sitting with art pieces worth millions and millions of dollars, and people are sitting with art pieces worth $50. There are people who are willing to pay at various price points. So that's why I said at some point in this conversation, what is your fuck yes and your fuck no's? Because if your practice, your expression of your gifts to you feels exciting at $1,000, and that's what you're wanting to put it out in the world, there is someone who will consume that as $1,000. If you're in passion about it, if you're love, and if that price point inspires you as in fantastic, go put it in the world.
Yeah, I love
that. Was
that.
a bit of a ramble.
So much. No, not at all. Not at all. It was really clear from where I'm sitting. And so definitely think I very, very much I very much lean into that philosophy every day. I think some days are harder because we cannot necessarily see with our eyes the evidence yet.
Yeah.
And so it's a continuous journey of showing up every day and keep going at it. And I think that's also the thing that Elizabeth in this book, in the Big Magic book, also so beautifully expresses around the years and years and years that it took her before she actually and she didn't even expect Eat, Pray, Love to be the big deal that it was, and she had many novels before that weren't a big deal, like 6 or 7 before that, but also the fact that so many people, if you've got that burning desire, you will get up at 5 and you will spend that hour writing and you will still go to your job and do the thing, so I think if the desire is there and it's that burning desire and you really you know, almost take the call, like, you know, the idea that comes knocking, and you're so passionate and so fired up about it, you will find a way to make it happen. And so I think, you know, to get into that space, and I think that's really, you know, where you and I spend our life's work, and we work with our clients to really believe that it's possible, and, you know, to really overcome the limitations and to turn the challenges into opportunities, you know. So that's what we do. That's what we love, what we do, why we love what we do as well, because, you know, when you start seeing the results, it's quite phenomenal when people, you know, start really open up to the possibility and the belief that it's possible, that anything is possible. Yes.
So beautiful.
Oh, beautiful. Gosh.
So beautiful.
So again, we're out of time. I think we can carry on this conversation for at least another hour, but we will be back, people. And oh, there's Ollie, my beautiful Ollie in the background. How is he? He's saying hello. He's recognizing my voice.
Exactly. Exactly. He's so good. That's my little dog, my beagle. He's sending you love.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
so everybody,
of course.
thank you so much for joining us, and we will be back in a couple of weeks. Yeah, let us know if you're watching the replay. Let us know if there's anything that you loved, that you have a question about, thoughts about. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your feedback. So until next time, thank you, Sean. I really appreciate you.
Beautiful, Marlies. Thank you, everybody. Sending you all so much love.
Bye.